Welcome in for our last session of Tuesday. We appreciate you being here. I'm Thomas Hare, the Chief Content Officer of the PDMI. And if you're wondering why I'm saying that at the start of every session, it's because all of these are going to go onto YouTube, and we want to make sure everyone knows who everybody is every time they watch something. Thank you again for being here. We appreciate each and every one of you for taking part. This is our, as I said, our final session of the day. Our education sessions are brought to you by Bluewater. We thank them for their support and their sponsorship of education this year. They have a video to share with you right now.
Hey guys, Randy Jackson here.
Welcome to the future of pain relief.
At Tommy John, a lot goes into our underwear before you do.
But now I've found my bubbly side with SodaStream.
Out!
Philips Air Fryer is the original and the very best.
Kid Rock!
Hey, why is everybody so loud in infomercials?
But wait, there's more!
Yeah.
Woo!
There we go. The expanding reach of QR codes is our topic. Andy Donato from Extreme Reach has put together a tremendous group of speakers. I'm sure they'll introduce themselves to you, and we'll take it from here.
Well, anybody hear me? Good. Hello. How are we today? Oh, we got some real good friends out here. Wow, look at this, Matt and Julie. Wow, wow, look at all these people. Thanks for coming. Well, my name is Andy Donato. If you don't know anybody doesn't know who I am, I'm the Senior Vice President at XR Extreme Reach, not Extreme Reach anymore. And I run their performance marketing division, which we formerly used to call direct response, because we're not direct response anymore. We're all performance marketers, right? Anyway, I'd like to first off, in the panel, like to introduce some very nice people who are clients of ours and also clients who are really embraced QR codes for their customers. So first, I'd like to present, this is Lauren from Southern New Hampshire University. And we've got Linda Goldstein, who's a major attorney in the space that everybody knows. You know, I don't even know what company she works for. I just know her as Linda Goldstein. We've got Randi here from Flowcode, and she's been a great partner to us, and she's got a lot of knowledge she's going to share with us today. And we have the beautiful Sarah from Bluewater, our big sponsor today, and she's been a great partner as well to us, and she's embraced a lot with the QR code initiative that we had been working on for the last few years. So to get it started, you know, a lot of people know who we are. Matt Edelman, who's here. Hey, Matt. Who's here. We basically run XR Extreme Reach's direct response unit, and our business for many, many years has always been to make unique content, whether it be unique phone numbers, you know, unique URLs, unique, you know, like any type of versioning that's needed, from anything from the Snuggie to, you know, versioning for local Planet Fitness spots, you know. So a couple of years ago, during the pandemic, people had come to me about QR codes, and they said, Andy, you know, we're starting to see a couple of these branded ads have QR codes on linear TV ads. And I said, well, look, I had tested that years ago, and it really didn't work. It was mostly the kids that knew how to do it. You needed an app to download it and all this stuff, and lo and behold, things have changed a lot. You know, you can just open up your phone, an Android or an iPhone, and basically open your camera, and you can scan a code. So at that time, the team at Extreme Reach at that time, we had partnered with Flowcode, which has been an unbelievable partnership with us. And since then, you know, as started like the first year that we did it, we started to see a lot more scans and engagement from clients when we put these QR codes. And originally, a lot of people are against it, saying, oh, you know, we should just not add a third ordering option on the screen. It confuses people. But lo and behold, we have not had really one campaign that's really hurt the call volume or any of the organic search, and all it's done is give things lift. And since then, since the first year we did it, we've tripled, like just last year, we've tripled the amount of content that we're shipping out that now has unique QR codes, which has been a big plus for us. So I have a lot of data I could share, but there's a lot of information that these gals can give that's probably more important, but I'll throw a couple of different things out there. You know, like the main categories that's really worked well with from what we told, and again, this is information we get from our clients, is like health and beauty, charities, weight loss, tooth whitening, knee braces, pet products, automotive, retail support, online education. housewares, travel, tort law, mortgage refinancing. And every day since we've been doing it, it's growing. Like we're getting people calling us day and night now to add QR codes. How do we do it? How can we do unique codes? How can we do this? And we've learned a lot of information that's been really helpful, and the conversions are growing every day. Just in the charity space, we're hearing results of like 25 to 50% conversion from scans. And some of the product spaces, it started at like minimums of like 5% conversions. Now we're up to like 14, 15 in some cases. And there's some like higher price categories that don't do as well. But what happens is a lot of the clients feel like that direct engagement that they're getting from that QR code, that they're really converting somewhere else in the household. It's just still a little bit hard to measure, but we're working on that. So anyway, what I figured I'd do is I have some more data and stuff I could share with you guys and some more information, but I think what's more important is these guys have some really good information I think that we could share first. So I'm going to lead it off with Lauren, who is from Southern New Hampshire University, and we started a couple of years ago, right, doing QR codes, and they've expanded and they're putting it in most of their ads. And one thing she can share you some information. They're like kind of more of a, I would say, a brand DR customer of ours. And there's always been difficulties we've had with the creative teams because they want it to be beautiful, the ads and stuff like that, and they want to make the QR codes really tiny, but we fight together to make it big enough and then the right spot to get the most effective scan. So why don't you share with us some of the positive things, and even if you want to share some negative things that people should look out for since we started adding the QR codes.
Awesome. So we started back in 2022 introducing QR codes on all of our 30-second linear spots. And then more recently, we introduced them on all of our OTT publishers, which are only 30-second spots. And it's been great so far. We're really using it for brand awareness. And we're seeing on the linear side, about 40% of all of our linear spots are getting scanned. And then on our OTT side, we're seeing some really great responses as well. Our engagement rates, we're able to track that now. We're also able to track our bounce rates to see which publishers are performing better and which ones we need to boost engagement on. So it's been really great. And then we are just testing right now, looking at different sizes. Do we want square QR codes, circle QR codes? Do we want them in the left-hand corner, right-hand corner, sizing and all of that, and just seeing how that's impacting our brand.
Right, and then one of the great things with us also is that, with our partnership with Flowcode, we've helped their other departments even as well. Like, let's say Lauren is doing all this linear and CTV stuff. They may come to us in another department for a promo. Like Heather called me one night and said, hey, we're doing this event in Wilmington, North Carolina, where we want a huge QR code in the airport. And boom, like in a matter of minutes, we had a QR code to them that they were able to print out and put in the airport. So it's been a lot of fun, and it's been great. These are great, they've been a great partner with us, and I think that what it's showing is it's growing every day. It started out real small, and the cool thing was it never hurt anything, but now incrementally it's really starting to grow. And like a company like them, they run these ads and they want to drive people to engage. There's no phone number or anything like that. But now all of a sudden, look at all the engagement and the attribution they're able to get from it, right? So that's, I think, a big plus for a lot of people. So Linda, I'm going to skip you. I'm going to come back to you.
I have no voice.
Okay. So next, we're going to talk to Randi. Well, actually, now I'm going to skip Randi, too. Okay. Now we're going to go to Sarah from Bluewater. Now, Sarah and David over at Bluewater have been doing a lot of stuff with us with a lot of different campaigns. And, Sarah and I called Sarah the other day. I don't know what it was, and she was going out to dinner with her kids, and she's pulling out of I said, look, we're going to just talk at the camp, don't worry. But we ended up chatting for like a half hour anyway, so I made her late for dinner. I'm sorry about that. Okay. But anyhow, so why don't you share with us like some of the stuff we talked about, like since you've done it, originally a lot of people were skeptical, right? And then you and David turned around and said, wait a minute, this is actually a very good thing.
Well, like you mentioned, people have tried QR code before. And so when it started to come about again, as we went through the pandemic, there was a little bit of skepticism of, I've tried this before, how can I recommend this for any of my clients? And I'm glad for those who were the early adopters, because Andy, as you shared with us some of the status data and the data from it, it looked really appealing. And so we have some clients that are a little bit more open to testing new things than others. So we started testing with them. And one of the things we were most concerned about is their commercials had phone numbers in it and websites in it. And the phone numbers converted at a higher rate than the websites. And we were very, very concerned about putting a third response mechanism in the commercial. What would that do to, number one, overall response? Would 3 response mechanisms be too much? And what would happen to phone response? Because I did not want to lose phone response at that high conversion rate and trackability to it. The first couple of clients that we tried on that were open to more risky testing, fantastic results. Not only did my total response not go down, it went up, and my phone response was unchanged. So we didn't lose any of those highly valuable conversions in there. So then we next started to have our own case study and wins to share with our clients, and because of the success we were having on this, felt really confident in sharing that with clients and testing with more clients. We tested it on every single one of our clients in a head-to-head test environment before we rolled it out to make sure that we were protecting results. Every single one of the cases, it did not hurt my phone response, and it did not hurt my total response. It gave an incremental boost to it. That was a fantastic win at a time when, well, during COVID, like everything was doing well, but who wouldn't want more performance, more responses? And in addition to all of that, we were able to save what I call the Google tax. Exactly. Because those people were scanning, it was taking them directly to that website, which was now living in their phone. I don't know how many web pages you have open. My kids think I'm a little crazy because I have like 70 open.
Right.
Okay, but it immediately took it there, and they're able to go right to the web page and make their conversion. I'm tracking it right there. For those who aren't clicking it right through there, like me, every time I look through I do have 70 open. Do I need to close any of this? It's hitting me again and again. We're able to, those who are hitting it right away, I'm able to directly track that in my results. And I know, because I can make that unique per creative and station, I know exactly what station someone came through, which then adds another layer of benefit as we do web attribution, which everybody is doing web attribution, and some of us have unique ways of doing that, but it validates that web attribution data that we have coming through there of, I do absolutely know this station is generating clicks and visits. I do know that this station's generating conversions because I can prove it.
Right,
with
and
this
then,
here.
like what I say is, what I call it now, a lot of people come to me, all right, you know, it's great, we converted, let's say we had this one client on the product side that said I converted 14% of the QR codes, it was 14%, which is fantastic. But what about the people that scanned that didn't convert? Well, I said, I call those like more like direct engagement scans. Basically, we can't prove it, but we're pretty positive that either A, they went to Amazon to buy the product, right? Or B, they searched somewhere else on the laptop, they didn't want to buy it on their phone. So there's a percentage of those people that really converted, and the engagement solved that, right?
It's not a bad thing. There's a couple things happening there. Number one, I'm generally seeing that my scans convert at a higher rate than the web visits that I have coming through. Not everybody who visits your site converts anyway, so it's not a bad thing on QR codes if they don't all convert. Not everyone who visits your site converts. It's a journey for many customers. And they could be going over there to the web. But the other piece of it is that the session, when you're scanning and hitting the website, that session does end at some point. So if they do switch over to their desktop, tablet, or they come back at a later time, I am picking up that conversion eventually in my web attribution and my web data that I'm pulling in.
Great. That's great. You know, the other thing is too, we do have some customers who are actually having us make the QR codes call a number, and we have had some interesting results. Nothing like earth-shattering, but we do have a bunch of lead gen clients who actually we run some of these spots. So let's say it has a phone number on there, and then we'll put a QR code that says scan to call with a different phone number going to the same call center, and they're able to grab. And all we found is basically it's had some lift, but not tremendous lift yet. We're still playing around. We have this other static code thing we're working on right now, but it is, you know, an advantage in that area too in some cases. So that's great stuff. Okay, so now we have Randi here from Flowcode, and Randi is my partner who, when I really need help, she gets on the phone and helps me and with a lot of stuff. But Randi's here now. Flowcode's got a great business. Just to give you an idea, they've been a great partner of us. the guy who's the president of the company is a guy named Tim Armstrong, who's kind of famous. He used to be the CEO of AOL years ago. Really bright guy, kind of knows a lot about the home shopping business. So every time he sees me, he loves to sit and talk to me for like, hey, I saw this or that or whatever the deal is. So anyway, she's going to share with us some of their other customer experiences, right, as far as they're really kind of like even out of the performance marketing area, and also some best practices of what we should do. Now I'm trying to get this better. Tom, you got to help me out here. What did I do wrong? I don't want to start this video again. No. There you go. Okay. All right, good. Okay, so Randy, if you could just share with us some stuff, and also, real quick, I'm gonna steal her thunder, but they have some really great big clients too, especially in sports and stuff. So let her share all that.
That's exactly right. So that's what we're actually going to talk about today. But so first and foremost, I'm really excited to be here, surrounded by our amazing partners. So thank you for coming and attending. As Andy mentioned, we work with clients in a variety of verticals. Everything from sports, autos, real estate, CPG, this kind of goes on, and I wanted to highlight a couple of client examples. So one is in sports with the NBA. We have been partners and strategic partners, and they're also an investor in Flowcode, and we've really been able to capitalize on their partnership. Thank you so much. Capitalize on the partnership because they had a problem in the space. They have stadiums, they have these arenas, and yes, they have season ticket holders, but they don't always know everyone who is going to the stadium. There's third-party reseller platforms, so they don't get access to that data, and really finding first-party data can be really challenging. So with Flowcode, they've actually been able to outfit the entire arena, both outside, inside, with these codes and throw them up on the Jumbotron, for instance, and allow people to scan, enter their information, enter a sweepstakes, get on the selfie cam, so it's really engaging into the fan experience. They can also put them on each seat to understand who's sitting in that seat during that particular game, and they can order food right to their seat. They can also purchase merchandise, and all of that information now goes back to the NBA rather than through a third-party platform. And another great example with them is during All-Star Weekend. It actually came up right in the panel before this, where they really wanted to understand the different formats in which people were engaging. So they started by taking over the Indy airport and putting a basketball court on the floor with a code for people to scan in the airport. Then they outfitted the stadium, the arena there, with, first of all, a huge out-of-home campaign along the side of the hotel, where they're actually able to have people scan from blocks away to engage with the content with different deals and different offers daily, so that someone is coming back and repeat engaging with the content because it's different and unique and is changed on the back end dynamically without even needing to touch the creative itself. So you set it, forget it, you can update the content on the back end. In real time, it's updated. Then you had it throughout the stadium itself and was able to actually be able to see the selfie cam. Which one of these touch points actually performs better? Where do they want to keep investing their marketing dollars? Yes, they also have TV, of course, but all of these different touch points were then able to build a story to actually be able to showcase how they should think about their marketing in the future. I have another example, if that's okay, too.
We got more than enough time.
Okay, perfect.
But you got more than enough time. Me, they want me to shut up. So
No, it's great. And then we can definitely talk about best practices. But BMW, another great partner. So yes, they have the marketing side of BMW that we also work with the agency partners on. But let's think about like the dealership level. They do dealership training. Internal operations is something that people really struggle with sometimes. And yes, they have learning management systems, but they're antiquated. So how do they bring that content in a more user-friendly, exciting way for them to engage with? So for instance, you have the front door of the code, which is exciting, but we have our mobile-friendly landing page with Flow Page, and they're actually able to order content and have different links on these pages, whether it's for their charging station, their electric vehicles, and understand what what content is resonating with people. Where do they maybe need to develop new content because it's not something that's clicking and resonating in market. And it's super simple because you bring all of this information together into a robust data system, and they're able to ingest that data and fuse it back into their own internal system, so that way they are having it all consolidated in one place.
Right. One of the other things with Flowcode's been a great partnership is I'm able to create branded QR codes, right? So, in this world of like these great creative groups that, they don't don't put a QR code on my screen. You know, we don't care about making any more money or doing more attribution. It's got to be a pretty picture. What they do is we're able to make like branded codes, like a round code or a square code with a logo in it, in the colors of, let's say, what the brand is. Like, let's say, for instance, I did this demo for Taco Bell a couple of weeks ago, right? And what I did was they were all worried about it, but what I said was get rid of the logo in the left corner and the logo's within the QR code. So you're using the space on the screen, right, to not only use your branding, but you have something that you can engage with. You know, so that makes a big difference, and they have a great team that does a great job with it.
Yeah, on that note, on that point exactly, it's like you could have a black and white code, and people are more likely just to kind of put it in the corner, kind of bury it away, really not highlight it, but when it's designed, you're more likely to prominently share it. And I think that's what's really key, is it aesthetically matches the brand and your guidelines, and we work with every team. What's the logo? What are your hex colors? What brand guidelines do you have? Do you have creative direction? Do you want it a circle? Do you want it a square? Do you want it a different shape? We work with clients who want shapes. And the biggest key important thing is also what's the CTA that is accompanying it? So we can talk all about best practices, but I think we do a lot of testing around the codes themselves too. And today that you think about it, you know, everyone has an iPhone. 75% of the population has an iPhone. 25% is on Android. And a huge part is testing. Quality assurance for us is super critical. So not only do we test across device types, we also do it based on operating system. Not everyone's on the latest operating system, and the code has to scan. And to geek out for just a second on the technical side, like the iPhone and the camera on your phone unlocked within the last 2.5 years, the ability to kind of pick up the code, and the eyes, which are kind of like the kind of 3 big dots that you see in the data pattern itself. I know it's not on the screen right now. There's different shapes. There's square eyes, and there are clients that have circular eyes, or yep, exactly here too. And what we found is, yes, you can go to a free kind of QR generator, but the importance of optimizing and testing. And so what we found is actually the circular eyes aren't as scannable as the square eyes. And our team is staying up to date on like the industry trends and what's changing so that we're optimizing for the conversion experience that someone is looking to drive. We understand that you may go free, but at the end of the day, I'm sure you want the highest quality because your consumer is engaging with that. And when it doesn't work, they're not going to be happy, they're not going to build that trust, and we really believe that trust is key to building the relationship with your consumers.
Yeah, that's great stuff. You know, the other thing I can throw out there is, what's interesting, you know, going through this notes that Matt was nice enough to print out for me. You know, I think if I added everything up a couple of weeks ago, I can't believe I tried to do this, but it took me I had a Saturday for like 5 hours trying to do this. I actually tried to go back to day one. I think we've got like 8 million scans since we did this last couple of years, honestly. And what I did was I looked at the networks that scan the most. And honestly, because again, we're in the performance marketing space, so I'm not doing a lot of local advertising and stuff like that, but you know, the number ones are Fox News, CNN, Newsmax, and then you go to stations like Hallmark Channel, Lifetime Movie Channel, BET, you know, massive amounts of scans compared to some of the other networks that we've learned. And what it's shown me is the demo is really women from 35 and up and men and 50 and up. Really what the demo now has become, and I think that's because of the pandemic, right? They got used to QR codes and stuff like that. And the other thing that's interesting I've learned is that, and the number pretty much stayed true when I looked through the numbers, you know, 15% of all the scans come way after the airings. Anybody know why? I figured it out at home. Because I was watching my wife. Some people watch DVR programs like it's live. So all of a sudden on these reports, we're saying, why did we get, like, we did this one campaign that ended on, this was like a year ago, that ended on Christmas Day. It was a holiday campaign for a product, and we kept it live, the QR code, the whole time. And then from the 26th of December to the January 15th, we had 85 scans and 8 conversions. And I looked at all the networks. It was Lifetime Movie Network. It was like Fox News. Somebody was watching Life, Liberty, and Levin. I guess they like recorded it and stuff like that. But it's interesting. You get a bunch of drag, so it works out pretty well. Okay, so that's that. Well, thank you. And then
Andy, really quick on
Go
what
ahead.
you were saying about the target demo.
Yeah.
So some of those stations, those are really large stations in and of themselves. So I would expect them to have a larger number of scans than some of the smaller stations. Just the impressions in those audiences.
Yeah.
We have tested this and run this on products that skew female, male, older, younger, middle, and we see it successul across all
That's
of
what I want to
them.
hear. But like, from what my opinion, that was my opinion, which is not a really big deal, in my opinion, a dub guy. But from those networks and stuff, that's my assumption was. But
It's working all over.
and their
the
demo
place.
also is 18 to what is it? 18 to 34.
Sure. So we had some doubts, would this actually work on our older skewing products that are more incontinence-based and such like that. And we're more hesitant, like they weren't in our first wave. We wanted to have a lot more data before we introduced it to them. And thank goodness for all of the training that happened with QR codes during the pandemic with restaurant menus and everything works just as well for them.
Great.
And I think we have to give some credit to people who are watching TV today. I think sometimes we think that they're not necessarily our older demo as tech savvy. They're using iPhones and they are texting and engaging and buying on the web. In fact, most of the purchases and most of the web engagements that we're seeing today are happening on mobile devices that are right there with them when they're watching TV.
Yeah, it's really growing. I mean, from what I can see, and it's been a slow growth, but a good growth. Of what we're getting. So I'm really, it really is pretty intriguing. So I'd like to, this is Linda Goldstein. Her voice is a little bit down. So Linda is a legend in this business, a little bit, not as good a legend as I am. But she is the key attorney. Anybody needs any legal advice in this, you go to Linda. She's the person. So anyway, I brought Linda in a lot of ways because there is a big deal in some cases, especially for like, let's say bigger brands that you may be engaged with to do work or whomever, about privacy. And one of the things that Extreme Reach, or XR Extreme Reach, liked when we engaged with them and did a deal with them is that they had the privacy, because we deal with a lot of big brands and we start putting this stuff in there. We love the fact that they have a great setup with privacy. And there was a time where there was like some fraud stuff going on that's kind of like quelled than what it was. And maybe Randy can talk about that. But it's important. So I figured Linda did a little work for us on it, and we've been discussing stuff. I figured maybe you can give us some views or some information that might be interesting for everybody on privacy and stuff like that.
Yes. Oh, well, that's not good. Privacy is probably, if we're going to talk about what's the regulatory risk here, it's privacy, and data security. And so the issue, and I think this is going to become more so as the ability to gather more and more data from QR codes expands. The concerns about, do you need consent? What kind of consent do you need? When do you need to get the consent? All of those issues are going to become much more challenging. And particularly with the QR codes, the way the FTC tends to approach privacy is there's a heightened level of consent that they believe is required when the consumer doesn't reasonably expect that certain data is going to be collected and they don't understand how it's going to be used. I do that even before we get to California and its privacy regulations or GDPR, just as a threshold. That's where the FTC's head is on privacy. And so, historically, and when you're talking about the phone or the customers going to the URL, you would rely on your privacy policy. Your privacy policy would say, this is how we use your information. This is what we collect, et cetera, et cetera. If you continue to use our service or you keep communicating with us, you agree. The issue that the QR code presents is that the information is being collected before the consumer ever reaches that site. And so it's really important to make sure that however you're using it, if you're selling this to your product clients or whatever, what information is being collected, how is it going to be used, some of it may be some of it is going to be shared. Who is it going to be shared with? How is that going to be disclosed? And to the extent that it's sensitive information, for example, if you take geolocation data, The FTC's view is that for geolocation data, it's so sensitive, you should get just-in-time consent. And so those are some of the things you really have to think about and make sure that the compliance is absolutely buttoned up, because one of the other things I'll share that we're seeing on the FTC enforcement side is when a company messes up with their data collection, we often get asked, so what's going to happen? We'll get a slap on the wrist, or we'll tell the consumer, well, if you don't want us to use your data, we won't use your data anymore. They're so past that now. If, you're a geek like me and you read all the FTC consent decrees, almost every privacy case in the last, I would say, year and a half, they're requiring companies to delete all the data if they messed up on their data practices. But it's very much a partnership. Whoever you're working with and partnering with, you have to let them know what data do you want, what do you need.
You want us to capture the data, right?
And then you have to be able to also know exactly what else may be going through collection that you're not even aware of or you haven't even thought of, and so you haven't covered it in any of your policies.
Yeah, in our company, really quick, we're very careful with data because we do ad serving as well as linear ad delivery and talent payment and all that stuff. So we do a lot of secure, transfers of data through S3 buckets and Amazon buckets and stuff like that. So it's important.
Yeah, you tee this up perfectly, because on every Flowcode...
softball?
Yeah, exactly. There is a privacy smile. So like on the bottom of the code, you'll see privacy.flowcode.com. And this isn't only just protecting the brand, but it's also giving the consumer the opportunity to opt in and read the privacy of how their data is going to be used. So it really creates this trust and relationship, and we actually see double digits of people who are more likely to scan a Flowcode because they are able to see this policy right first and foremost when they see the code. And then kind of to your point, like we are GDPR compliant, CCPA, and I actually just saw that we're also HIPAA compliant. So just continuing to understand the importance of trust, security, compliance, how data is being shared is super critical. And one of our large CPG partners, you mentioned fraud, that has happened where they have now put a blanket statement out, inclusive of their agencies, their packaging partners, you have to use Flowcode. They're the only vendor that is approved because of the privacy and data compliance.
And NBC has some kind of deal
NBC,
too, right?
Yep.
Because they were very happy when they found out Extreme Reach had a partnership with Flowcode, because they only put Flowcodes on anything on the NBC networks.
NBC only uses Flowcode as well for all of their ad partners, for all of their internal assets, 100%.
Yeah, so a couple other things I could share, and maybe, Sarah may be able to elaborate on it. So we actually, some other case studies, if you want to hear them, like one of them that's interesting is we had retail has become, almost non-existent in some ways in this country now. But, there's still the big retailers out there like Walmart and Target and stuff like that. So we had one client that came to Matt and I. Matt managed this campaign. And they were in 500 Walmart stores. It was an automotive product. And basically what happened was they went to Walmart. Walmart loved the product. They were selling it, but they basically kind of did the old Walmart threaten where, well, you got to spend X amount of dollars on TV or we're going to have to take it off the shelves. So the client was pretty smart in their negotiations with Walmart and said, hey, look, we'll spend this money, but what if we also did this? In the ad, it's basically an automotive product drive to web, but we'll put a QR code in there, and on it, it would be scanned to order, and when you scan that QR code, it was the product page for their product on the Walmart website. So on this, they got thousands of scans as they ran. I think we're up to like 20,000 scans or whatever the deal was, and Walmart would be very, careful of what data they would share with the client, but they were very happy. And we kind of figured out, the client did, and we did a little bit to figure out why, is because they got all these conversions, right, from whoever scanned, but the client feels that there had to be somewhere between 40 and 50% of the people who scanned and ordered bought other stuff on their site. So Walmart loved it. And what Walmart did was, now they're in 2,000 stores with the product. So that's, something that could be very interesting in the future as some of these retailers want to bring products in. There could be deals made that could be helpful in those negotiations to get stuff on sale, on the shelves. What other case study? What else we got? That one's all right.
Andy, while you look for that, just wanted to add on to what you were saying about the station and Flowcode. Whenever we send a spot out for S&P approval, we always get questions back about where's the information going, how's it going to be used. And one of the reasons why we actually chose to partner with Flowcode versus any other type of QR code was because of the privacy policy piece of it. And we never have a problem. We submit all the documentation about how the information's used, where it comes from. It's almost like with every station, oh, it's a Flowcode? Yep, we know what that is, even though we
Very
submit
helpful.
the documentation.
Yeah.
And so it allows us to have quick S&P approvals with the stations. And I appreciate that the stations are concerned about consumer privacy, and we want the right thing for our clients. We want the right thing for consumers out there, and we've never had a problem.
Yeah, we've
It's been a
only
great
had
mix.
honestly, one or two clients who really give us a hard time about the privacy, mostly like one charity once and everything. And we showed them all the data about the privacy and all this other stuff. And then we basically kind of really said, it's going to be clear, easier, and you're protected, in some ways. So why wouldn't you, why wouldn't you do that?
Right.
The other thing I could tell you is, the success that we've had is really, a lot of it's been linear. And when we originally tested CTV, it was okay, it wasn't great, but now we're starting to do a bunch of CTV stuff. We're starting to see a lot more scans. So that's making a big difference, I think, too. So I think more and more it's going to be CTV and linear.
On the subject of case studies, we have an interesting one that we're in the process of developing right now where we talked about the concern about maybe having so many response mechanisms and what would happen with all of that. And I've also talked about the demographics that maybe we thought wouldn't use it or how many do use it. We have a program that's testing right now where we are actually seeing more scans than phone calls.
Yeah.
And it is an older skewing. They're not all like that. They're not all programs aren't like that.
I got so many of these stories. I got a funny story. Anybody ever heard of Frontier Communications?
Mm-hmm.
Right? They're like a little cheap, DirecTV kind of reseller, right? You got them, right? So anyway, this big agent, I ran into this guy I'm friends with in town where I live, and he's a big, he's an account executive over at Starcom. And he's, I got something for the QR codes. We got to do it. I got something for you. I said, all right. Did this whole call with these people, the creative team. It's these local ads they were running in Charlotte. They were running in LA, and they were running in another market, I forget, Jacksonville maybe, okay? I don't know what the markets were, 3 different markets. So he made these unique codes with different phone numbers and unique QR codes. And they ran them, they were 30-second ads. And, I saw there was a bunch of scans, not tremendous, it's local, it was a 30-second ad, so how many could we really get, right? But there was a bunch, I was like, wow, it's great. So he finally called me back, 2 weeks later. I said, well, how's it going? He said, well, you know what? The only thing positive in this whole thing is the scans. I said, what do you mean? He goes, almost every call we got was somebody calling to cancel the service. But meanwhile, they had 60% scans versus 40% phone calls. It was very interesting, So, there wasn't a successful campaign, but it goes to show how many people, scan versus call or whatever. My concept with this is that why, if any, you have any brand that's drive to web, why wouldn't you want to put a unique QR code? We can give you all this data. You can drive them directly to your site, and it's a direct engagement kind of tool. It seems silly. The other thing we do also is we do have a bunch of customers that actually drive right to the app stores. And we can do that very easily too, where when they scan, it figures out what device it is, and it goes right to that Google App Store or to the iPhone App Store. So does anybody have any questions maybe that we can, to the panel? Maybe me. I don't know if you want to talk to me, but the panel, you got anybody? Anybody have any questions? All right, go.
Hi, good conversation. I just wanted to state the obvious, I guess, for technical people here, for tracking and measurement.
Mm-hmm.
Every QR code build includes like a UTM Google parameter, right?
Right. Mostly what the clients do is they supply us the UTMs, or they'll give us a UTM maker, and we'll create the UTMs, and then what we'll do is we'll do a unique UTM for each station dub, and that'll have that unique code in it. It looks exactly the same, whatever you choose as a customer of what you want, either it's a branded code or a generic code, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, that's pretty critical to track, different campaigns
Right.
and targets.
Right.
And
We
all those
also,
kinds of
between
things.
us, we actually have we actually have a conversion pixel we can develop as well that leads back to the folder where the codes are. So we can bring back some data on that. We've been testing that together as a team. And it's been pretty cool, actually. But again, you can get that in GA usually.
Yeah, and it's been pretty helpful for us too. We do unique UTMs for all of our different creatives. So we're able to view our different creatives, and then if we have different QR designs on the different creatives, test those against each other. So it's been really great for us.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, exactly on that note, we have clients who not only are looking to test different creative, different calls to action, different lengths of the creative, and so by having these unique codes on each of them, they start to optimize and then say, okay, where do we want to keep investing? That 30-second spot is actually a sweet spot. We see like a 2x lift from a 15 to a 30, and then even from a 30 to a 60, and I get it. Like, there's different price tags associated with that. It's just something to consider when testing. And then to answer your question as well, from a Flowcode perspective, we also have a unique identifier. So for instance, if SNHU is having a problem with a code and they send me a picture, I can quickly identify what code is being impacted, for instance, and we can quickly make an adjustment on the back end.
Exactly, yeah. And we give the daily reporting. You get a report and shows you each scan. The way we label everything, you could tell by each station airing and date, time, and everything. So it's really pretty cool. It's like me going back in time that night when we started putting phone numbers in shows. It's like a whole, starting all over again. But it's cool. Anybody else have any questions? Anything else anybody wants to add? This is.
I have something to add.
I'm mostly on the digital side, but when it comes to TV, the question I had is, do you typically see higher scan rates on ads that you're running with more frequency? Due to, like I say, a 30-second spot, are you seeing a higher click or scan rate?
Yeah, so we're seeing more scans on the publishers that we're running more on, but it was really interesting recently. I was looking at our engagement rate and bounce rate, and some of the publishers that we were running less frequency on, we were seeing more engagement on. So it really just depends. Obviously, we want more scans, so that's really great for us, but it is really important to look at the engagement rate and say, okay, is it worth less scans, more engaged, more leads? And we are seeing about 1% to 3% of leads coming from QR codes, which is really great because now we're able to track exactly where those leads are coming from, the publishers they're coming from, and then figuring out, should we up frequency on these publishers or just stick to what we're doing?
Thank you.
Oh, we got another one. Look at this. People are, wow.
Hello.
Hello.
My question is, like you mentioned, a lot of time, like advertisers have the QR codes typically as like a third CTA. So you have the phone number, the website, and then the QR code. Have you, like, probably depends by client, but have you found like any particular success on like the QR code experience? Meaning, is it more successful like a scan to call or a scan to a website, or maybe like a landing that gives you the option to call or go to a website? Like, have you done those tests?
Yeah, we have done those tests, and we found that in most cases, well, it depends what you want. I mean, if you're a lead gen client, you want to do scan to call because you don't want to drive them to a website. We've done these tests where we scan stuff to a form fill, and we have some minor success, but it really doesn't work. But most of it, they basically scan to go to a page where they can engage and convert fast. That's the most important thing, and that's what we found the best results. But we also found is you have to make it as quick and simple as you can. I mean, we have done flow pages and everything, but as far as in the clients that we have, it's really get them to where you can convert them as quickly as possible.
Yeah.
So, and make it as simple as possible. You want them to press the button, get to that page, make it an easy mobile site that they can fill out, and you can convert them. That's what you want.
That's actually a good point, because something that we're also investing in is like, yes, the front door is the flow code. That's great, but it's really about that conversion experience. And so we're working right now on how do we optimize that experience, and we've created even better flow page experiences right now where it's like a very simple, clear call to action, shop now, purchase this now, and knowing that that is what is key to really drive it. So For instance, today, one of the things that we've talked a lot about is like CRM capture, obviously lead generation there. And so from a CRM perspective right now, we're testing these experiences. And if you go to a typical e-commerce site, we know the average kind of order size based on eMarketer is anywhere from $60 to $80. And because e-commerce sites often offer, a 10 to 15% discount on if you enter your email, it's roughly about $6 to $8 to acquire that customer. And what we found with Flowcode right now, because of the quality, people are actually willing to pay double that, anywhere from $10 to $12 to acquire a customer, because they're not entering a junk email or something that's their secondary action, because they really want the product or what you're promoting at that moment in time. And if you have millions of people coming into your site, that's a huge opportunity. And that's where our team really works hand in hand with you to understand what your goals are, what your KPIs are, and making sure that we're auditing on a regular basis, and something we work really closely with all parties here.
Right. We work, this has been a pet project for me that I got kind of thrown into, but it's been a lot of fun. We've got a lot of entrepreneurial customers and partners in this room. And it's been a lot of fun testing all kinds of stuff, and we're just going to keep doing it. We're going to keep trying until we can find that, get to that point where it's like that's the only way people want to order now is through a QR code, we're hoping, or engage.
Andy, I love a word that you said there, and I've heard it frequently here, is the word test.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really key for any program. You could have two programs both selling the same widget. They're slightly different. The brand name's going to be different. The color might be different. How consumers respond to it, what the USPs are, the claims are, they start to have more and more differences. So the right thing for each one can be different. I have some clients where the QR code, it's better to have scan now in the middle of it, others scan now in the top and in the bottom. Where colors, great to use brand colors. Sometimes the brand colors blend into the whole commercial, and it doesn't stand out.
Just do a black and white one then, or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Some of them, it's better to have that QR code, have some movement, to do a little bit of flip, catch an eye, and be engaging in there. So test it. We know it's a valuable vehicle. The right way to use it, just like anything else that you do in your marketing, test and find the most optimal combination.
And there's two other things but one of our greatest campaigns that's had the most scans is a pet product, and it's amazing product. And the cool thing about it, throughout the whole campaign, the QR code just says "Scan me." Doesn't say "Scan here," "Scan for discount," which is helpful if there is a discounted offer maybe that you can throw in there. But it says "Scan me," and it's done really, really well. It's made a big difference, which is funny. But it just. And then one other quick idea that I can throw in, and it's a great story. It's almost like what do they call when a story gets like even bigger, or like a fishing story, like you caught a fish and then you caught a shark and it got bigger and bigger. It's a great David Schwartzberg story from. So anyway, Flowcode, with Tim and I had a meeting with Tim and David, and they told me the story when I first started with them, that they did a lot with the NFL and with the NBA, and they did this demo thing with the Buffalo Bills, right? And they had a football game going on locally in the local last preseason game, or who watches it, but basically in their market, maybe streamed or whatever as well. And on there they said, hey, Bills Mafia, scan here, get your season tickets this year. And he goes, stand here to enter or win a Josh Allen signed, it was either a jersey or a hat. I think it was a jersey or whatever it was. And with that, I don't know how many minutes it was, or half hour, or whatever the deal, 50,000 people scanned the code and gave them their phone number, email address, and name, right? But they incentivize them, and it's a giveaway, right? But there is kind of ways you can use these things, and even use these things in a way that you can incentivize them to where they're really going to get the offer. They go to the site anyway, but maybe make them feel like they're getting something special. So it's more special than if they did go to Amazon, or if they did do search, or they did it later. It's a direct engagement, so it does make a change.
Incentives are so critical.
Yeah,
Sweepstakes, enter to win. So easy, and they don't cost anything.
The graphic we were able to get is the hashed IP address, the city and state where the phone's IP, where it was scanned from. And they also, in this map, longitude, latitude.
Yeah, if you use our advanced geo and you toggle it on and it goes back to privacy, if someone opts in, you can get down to latitude and longitude, which is really exciting. And if they don't, we still get
I tested it a little bit. The advanced geo is a little, it turns people off. So I kind of stay away from it. But
have to opt in.
Yeah, you have to opt in for it. So I try not to do anything that you have to opt in. But the data that I'm able to collect and give to the clients has been great. And they've been very helpful to them. But it makes a big difference.
Yeah, I know there have been skeptics, and hopefully we've been able to prove that you don't need to be anymore. But some of the data that we're also seeing from a scan volume, and I know Andy kind of touched upon this, is the volume we're seeing today used to take us 11 months to get the scans that we're now seeing in 24 hours. So it's like a huge, huge change in behavior.
Yeah, it's becoming really the norm, but it's become a great advantage for us, right? Because in our world, there was always phone numbers, then the web came, and then it's like we have all these systems, but you really can't narrow it down to the exact airing sometimes of how many conversions you get, and this has really been helpful for us. So anybody else have any questions?
Right over here.
Look at this.
Damn broke.
Oh my God. I'm in trouble now.
I was just going to say, imagine how many scans you would have gotten if you used, Tom Brady instead of Josh Allen. Just saying. But, that's not
there's a guy in number 15. He's pretty good. Are we going to start talking about him yet?
No.
What does he got to get? He's got to get the 3 in a row, right, Matt? 3 in a row?
Super Bowls.
Get the 3 in a row? We got to get the 3 in a row, right? Then we'll start talking about him? Okay.
But this question is more probably a legal question, but luckily we have a good attorney. Thank you, Andy. So I was just wondering, it was mentioned earlier about them filling out a form. How tough would it be for something to do an autofill if someone is already a Flowcode user, have used it in the past? I mean, if I buy something from Insta or Facebook, it's so easy, a couple of clicks of a button, boom, they have all my info, I enter everything. Now, obviously, there's going to be privacy issues here.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know that it's, from a legal perspective, there's going to be the privacy issue, and I don't know, I might punt it back to Flowcode to say, is there a way, just like you tell a merchant, you can save my credit card, to say, if I come back, now that's only going to work, I would say, with the same merchant or seller. You're not going to be able to do that when they use Flowcode for an entirely different product. But I would think basically it would work the same way as getting consent to save any other kind of information.
That's exactly right. We're actually working on that right now with some of our changes that we're optimizing for, and being able to have, when you're going, just like you would go on a website, autofill your name, email, and we're even doing testing right now of even pre-populating, for instance, I mentioned like the arena scenario where if you have a sponsor, you could have something pre-filled in set for section A versus section B. Yes, that's not your personal information, but we start to understand pre-populating that part to then allow people to enter just the information we may not have. Yes, we're also only going to surface it for that organization. We wouldn't show that then to someone else outside. But we're working on also how do we showcase personas by taking that data, anonymizing it, and being able to start to show a wider ecosystem as well.
And I was actually just going to, I'm getting out of my lane now, but you're talking so much about incentives. And from a legal perspective, I think one of the big opportunities, we've seen a lot of use of QR codes in sweepstakes and other kinds of incentives, and particularly if it's like, this deal is going to go to the first 200, or, you want to create that sense of urgency. And we've always worried about how can you communicate to the consumer when the offer's over, so they don't make a purchase and they think they're getting the offer, but the offer's discontinued. And, one of the ways that the QR code can be really great is real time. If that offer's ended, it's right there. Yep. And so I think it opens up a lot of incentive opportunities.
One of the things, I don't know if we could share, Linda and I have been talking a little bit in the pharmaceutical area. There may be ways to use QR codes and ads for a lot of the disclaimer info they can scan. We're trying to look into that a little bit, but that could be utilized in some ways.
Yeah, there's a lot of, the FDA has, sort of taken no position. So you're kind of doing it right now a little bit in parallel. They haven't said no. I think that's going to be an emerging area. I don't think honestly, I don't think the FTC is going to be that open to it, just because their view now on disclosures is they need to be unavoidable, and they're going to say, well, if you have to scan the code, it's not unavoidable. It needs to be where the CTA is on the ad that the code is appearing. But hopefully it will change. I mean, this may be one. I personally hope in a couple of years, as adoption becomes much more common, that maybe the regulators will.
We'll see. We'll see. I think there's a lot of people that don't think of these things, and it's people like us who do, who care because we know it's a growth in that business. But my goal, and I think everybody's goal here, is to help everybody else, because with us they scan more flow codes, they need more legal advice. Hopefully they get more education, and they get great production and media from all these guys. So, that's the key, right? So, hey, listen, I can't thank these ladies enough. They're fantastic. Especially Linda, because she's been spending the last day and a half screaming at Fern, and now you know why our voice is gone, But this was great, and I appreciate everybody showing up. And, I'm happy to do this. And if anybody has any questions, even if you're not a customer of mine, or let's say you're not in the TV space right now, you're more than welcome to reach out to me. I'm more than happy to help and come up with ideas and testing stuff. I'm here to do that. So thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Andy. Thank you to our great group here. Outstanding.